My name is Alara Wren, but most people just call me Ellie. I was the quiet one in the family, the one who stayed behind when everyone else moved on. For years, I took care of my father as his health declined, managing the estate and keeping his legacy alive. The Wren House, a grand old estate in Charleston, was more than a home. It was a piece of our family's soul, built brick by my father, Samuel Wren. He planted the white rose bushes himself the year I got engaged, saying they'd be perfect for my wedding photos. Those roses outlasted the marriage. My ex-husband, Nathan, left me not long after the wedding for his secretary. Her name was Vanessa. She's now his wife. And this morning, she showed up in my garden wearing Louboutins, like she owned the place. I didn't even need to look up when I heard her heels crunching the gravel. I just kept pruning the roses. Well, well. Vanessa's voice dripped with fake sweetness. Still playing in the dirt, Ellie? I didn't answer right away. I clipped a thorny branch, careful not to crush the petals. You know why I'm here, she said, stepping closer, her shadow falling across the flower bed. The reading of the will is tomorrow, and Nathan and I thought it best to settle things civilly. I wiped my hands on my apron and turned to face her. There's nothing to settle. This is my father's home. Was, she corrected, lips curling into a smirk. And since Nathan was like a son to Samuel for 15 years, we believe we're entitled to our fair share. My grip tightened on the shears. The same Nathan who cheated on me with you? I asked, voice low but steady. That Nathan? Ancient history, she shrugged. Your father forgave him. They still played golf every Sunday. My father wouldn't leave him anything, I replied. He wasn't stupid. Her smile faltered just for a moment. Well, we'll see about that, she said, turning to leave. You might want to start packing. We'll need at least a month to renovate once we move in. As her car drove away, I looked down at the crushed petals in my hand. White roses meant new beginnings, my father always said, but today, all I saw was red. I stood in the garden long after Vanessa's car disappeared down the driveway. My hands were trembling, not from fear, but from the rage boiling beneath the surface. Just 2 weeks since my father passed, and already the vultures were circling. As I knelt to gather the fallen petals, something caught my eye. A small envelope half buried in the soil beneath the rosebush. Its corner was damp with dew, but the handwriting on it was unmistakable. It was my father's. To Ellie, written in the deliberate, confident script I'd known my whole life. My breath caught. I brushed off the dirt and turned it over in my hands. It felt heavy, like it carried more than just paper inside. I didn't open it right away. Instead, I pulled out my phone and called the only person I trusted, my best friend and attorney, Danica Cole. Vanessa just paid me a visit, I said the moment she answered. She's worse than we thought. Can you come over? I'll be there in 20, she replied without hesitation, and I'm bringing wine. True to her word, Danica arrived, one hand briefcase, in the other a bottle of Pinot Noir. You haven't opened it yet, she asked, eyeing the envelope as we sat in my father's study. I wanted to wait for you. Then let's see what he left you. With trembling fingers, I broke the seal. Inside was a folded letter and a small brass key. Dear Ellie, I read out loud, my father's voice echoing in my mind. If you're reading this, someone's already made a move on the estate. Knowing human nature, I'm guessing it's Vanessa. She always reminded me of a shark. All teeth, no soul. The key enclosed opens the bottom drawer of my desk. Inside, you'll find everything you need to protect what's yours. Remember what I taught you about chess. Sometimes you sacrifice a pawn to protect the queen. Love always, Dad. I looked up, eyes glassy. Danica was already unlocking the drawer. She came to me 6 months ago, she said softly, right after his diagnosis. He knew exactly how this would play out. The drawer clicked open, revealing a thick manila envelope and a USB drive. She handed them to me, her face solemn. "There's more," she said. "3 days before he died, your dad added a clause to his will, one that's going to change everything." "What kind of clause?" She smiled slightly. "The kind that sets a trap." We spread the contents of the envelope across the desk. Surveillance photos, bank statements, email printouts. One photo showed Vanessa in a dark parking lot handing something to a man in a suit. "My father had them followed," I whispered. "He didn't just hope for the best," Danica said. "He planned for the worst." And suddenly, I knew. Whatever Vanessa thought she was walking into tomorrow, she had no idea the storm that was waiting for her. That night, the house felt colder. Still, I sat in my father's study, the documents spread before me, the letter resting in my lap. Somewhere between grief and fury, I began to see it. My father's final move in a game he'd been quietly playing for months. A knock came just after 9. I opened the door to find my brother, Evan Wren, standing there. He looked nothing like the polished man from the funeral. His designer suit was rumpled, eyes hollowed from fatigue. In his hands was a worn leather portfolio, gripped like a shield. "You look terrible," I said. "Playing double agent isn't as glamorous as the movies make it out to be," he muttered, managing a faint smile. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside without a word. He glanced at the evidence on the desk before sitting across from me. "He see you found Dad's insurance policy," he said, nodding toward the photos. "Why didn't you tell me what you were doing?" My voice was sharper than I intended. "Because I had to make things right," he said quietly. "After what I did during your divorce, siding with Nathan, ignoring how they humiliated you, I was wrong, Ellie, and I knew it." He opened the portfolio and pulled out a check. $500,000. That's what Vanessa offered me, to testify that Dad wasn't of sound mind when he changed his will. I looked up. "But you didn't take it." "No, I took it straight to Dad. Told him everything." His voice cracked. You should have seen his face. Not angry, just disappointed. That hurt worse than if he'd yelled. So that's when he told me the plan, asked me to help gather evidence. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a phone. I recorded everything. Meetings, threats, even Vanessa's voice on tape. Want to hear what she said? He pressed play. "So, once the old man kicks it, we'll contest the will. Evan, you'll testify about his mental state, about Nathan's history with him. We'll make the case. Ellie won't know what hit her." My hands clenched into fists. "There's more," Evan said, fast-forwarding. Then came Nathan's voice. "We'll sell the house, liquidate everything. Ellie can go back to her little gardening business. She never deserved any of it anyway." "Turn it off," I whispered. He did. Then he pulled out one last document. "This is why I came tonight," he said. "Vanessa didn't just want money. She wanted revenge." For what? For making Nathan feel guilty, for taking attention away from her, for embarrassing them when you caught them together. The memory burned, walking into my bedroom, finding them together, her smirk triumphant as my world fell apart. Evan's voice softened. "She started embezzling from Dad's company 6 months before that. He found out right before his diagnosis. That's when he started planning this." I sat back, stunned by the scale of it all. My father had seen what was coming, and instead of confronting it with anger, he crafted a trap so complete it would let them destroy themselves. The morning of the will reading arrived crisp and clear. The sunlight poured through tall windows, casting warm stripes across the floor. It should have felt peaceful. Instead,
My stomach churned like a storm waiting to break. Danica was already there, arranging documents on the desk. Across the room, a small production crew adjusted lighting. That was Vanessa's idea. She'd hired them to document the historic moment she and Nathan inherited the estate. She wanted to look gracious on camera. She had no idea what was coming. Evan slipped into the study and nodded. She's outside rehearsing her thank you speech. Wants to do a walkthrough with the chandelier crew next. I almost laughed. Almost. Everything ready? I asked Danica. She tapped the envelope containing the clause. All set. Once they sign the initial terms, it activates. No way to undo it. Heavy footsteps echoed down the hall. Vanessa entered first, dressed in black, mourning and smug. Nathan followed, stiff in his tailored suit. The camera crew trailed behind, recording everything. Danica began. As the legal representative of the late Samuel Wren, I will now read his last will and testament, along with any supplementary documents. Vanessa beamed.
"We're ready," she said, straightening her neckline, eyes glinting for the camera. The reading began. To my daughter Alara, 60% of all estate assets, including the family home, business shares, and remaining financial holdings. To my former son-in-law, Nathan Barrett, and his current wife, Vanessa Barrett, a combined share totaling 40%. Vanessa's smile widened. "I knew it," she whispered. "He loved us too much to leave us out." But Danica didn't stop. "However," she continued, "a conditional trust integrity clause was added 3 days before Mr. Wren's passing." Vanessa's smile froze. What's that supposed to mean? Danica opened the second envelope. Surveillance photos, bank statements, the USB drive. These documents contain evidence of financial misconduct, attempted bribery, and efforts to manipulate the contents of this will. Vanessa snatched a photo. "Where did you get this?" Evan stepped forward. "Dad had you followed. He knew exactly what you were doing." "Turn off those cameras," Vanessa screamed. "Oh no," I said calmly. "You wanted them here, remember? You wanted to make history." Danica continued. "However, a conditional trust integrity clause was added 3 days before Mr. Wren's passing." Vanessa's smile froze. "What's that supposed to mean?" Danica opened the second envelope. "It's a setup," she cried. "No," I said softly, "it's justice." By the time it was over, they were gone. Broken. Speechless. Danica leaned back, smiling faintly. "Your father would have loved that ending." I exhaled, finally able to breathe. Yeah, he really would have. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. It's patient, methodical, and impossible to undo. That evening, I stood in the garden again. The white roses swayed gently in the wind. I knelt beside the oldest bush, my father's favorite, and placed a single photo beside it. Not evidence, just a memory. Him and me rebuilding the greenhouse one summer, his arm around my shoulder, sunlight in both of our eyes. Evan joined me quietly, holding a small red rose bush. He said, "Figured we could plant one together." We worked in silence, side by side. When it was done, I looked at the red bloom, bold, unapologetic, a new chapter. He said, "I'm sorry." I replied, "I know, and I forgive you." People say revenge is about getting even, but standing there, watching truth bloom where lies once lived, I realized it's really about reclaiming your worth. My name is Alara Wren, and for a long time, I let people rewrite my story. My ex-husband, his new wife, even my brother. But my father never did. He knew who I was even when I forgot. He gave me more than a house. He gave me myself back. So plant your roots deep. Stand firm in your truth. And if someone tries to take what's yours,
make sure they know they've picked the wrong garden.